Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's is a fun one. Today's has to do with a question that I got from a viewer who's a bank fisherman, and he said he's limited to the amount of tackle that he can carry when he goes fishing, and he was interested as to what my top 4 high percentage baits are. If I could have 4 baits, what would they be? Why 4? I don't know. They didn't clarify why 4, but I guess I got to pick 4 baits. And it was not an easy decision. I mean, I've got so many baits that I like to use. And when you think about, if you can only have 4 baits, you got to think about what water depths do you want to fish? You know, are you talking bottom fishing, top water fishing? Are you talking weeds, rock, wood? I mean, there's so many variations. And if you don't know where you're going, it's hard to pick just 4 baits. So the question though was, what 4 high percentage baits do I always want to have with me? So I went ahead and picked 4 baits that I would say I've got rigged up year round, regardless of where I'm going, regardless of species that I'm chasing. These are 4 baits that I use all of the time, and they are extremely versatile baits. So I thought I would share it with you. I want to know from you guys in the comment section, what are the 4 baits that you would have to have? You know, I think knowing the versatility of a lot of baits is really what helps making these decisions. So I want to know what you guys have to have, or what you guys have to have with you when you go fishing, because honestly, I'm always checking out the baits. Every time you guys leave comments, there's a lot of times there's baits I've never even heard of, and I go over to Tackle Warehouse and I check them up, and I'm like, man, these look good. So I'm very appreciative of you guys leaving information in the comment section as well. So please share your 4 baits as well. For me, it was a hard decision. Like I said, I wanted a bait that I want baits that I can cover the surface all the way down to the bottom and are versatile regardless of cover that I'm fishing. So that's kind of the approach that I took. The first one, and one that I feel like you got to have pretty much anywhere you go, is a soft stick bait. For me, I'm all about the Berkley Max Scent Generals. The 5-inch size I feel like is the absolute must standard. You know, when it comes to colors, I don't know that I can only have one color. It wasn't a color thing, but you know, any of your natural colors. This is purple. This is one that's really growing on me, regardless of watercolor that I'm fishing. Otherwise, like green pumpkin is a go-to. But really, when it comes down to with your soft stick baits, they're extremely versatile. They catch a ton of fish, and you can fish them pretty much from the surface down to the bottom. You know, if you rig one of these wacky, weightless wacky, I mean, it's almost a surface bait because it's such a slow falling bait, but you can rig them, Texas rig them, so you can fish them deeper. You know, you can throw them on a Carolina rig. You can fish them a whole bunch of different ways. So I really feel like you got to have whatever your soft stick bait favorite is, you know, whether you're a Cinco guy or you're a General guy or you're a Yum Dinger guy, whatever it is, I don't know how you can't choose one, because they are such good fish catching tools. So that was one that I absolutely had to pick. Next up, you know, I wanted a bait that would cover kind of that middle of the water column, and a bait that catches a ton of fish. And that's where I'm shamelessly going to plug my Matt Steffen Dirty Jigs Guppy swim bait head. And then you pair that up with a small swim bait. This is a Kitech Fat Impact 3.3 size, but you know, this is like one of the standard baits for me, regardless of wherever I'm going. I've always got a small swim bait rigged up on a guppy head. It's also one of my #1 guide baits because it's a simple bait to use. Throw it out, reel it back in, and it catches all species of fish, and it catches fish all over the place. So it's one of my favorite baits to fish from shore with, specifically, especially if you've got like a bridge you can fish around. It seems like they really produce really, really well in those areas. But a small swim bait is a must in my opinion. It's one of my high percentage baits, as the viewer requested. So I gotta have a small swim bait like that. It just seems like it covers, again, you can fish it basically on the surface down to deep, but it covers that mid-range water column really well, and that's what I like about a lot about it. So then I was like, okay, well, if we're fishing someplace that's got grass or wood or docks or heavy cover, I gotta have a pitching bait that I can Texas rig. And that's tough for me because I love, right now I'm in love with two baits, the Max Scent Creature Hog as well as the Berkeley Power Bait Pit Boss. I ended up going with the Pit Boss in this case. It's just a phenomenal bait. Again, very versatile. Like, this is a bait I can throw on a Texas rig, but if I want to throw it on a wobble head, I can do that. If I want to use it as a trailer on a buzz bait, I can do that. If I throw it on a chatterbait as a trailer. So it's a great bait to use as a trailer, but it's a great bait to use as a standalone. And therefore, this was the pick that I had as my kind of my flipping bait, heavy cover bait, because I got to have a Texas rig. You know, if I'm going anywhere, I'm going to have a Texas rig because it's an extremely weedless presentation, but you can fish it through all cover. It really doesn't matter. So I had to have a Texas rig with me. And that is just one that, this is probably my go-to flipping bait right now from just a soft plastic standpoint. The last one, again, is an extremely versatile bait for me. You guys know that I am in love with a swim jig. This is the Dirty Jig swim jig. I like just the standard size, but the thing about a swim jig that is so awesome is the versatility of it. So if I'm fishing around docks, I can skip them way up under docks. They're weedless. If I'm fishing through a log jam, I can use it as a jig. It may not be the best jig to fish through, but I can actually stop it and work it slow through the log jam like an actual flipping jig. It's extremely versatile if you're fishing around grass or pad stems or hay grass, whatever vegetation is around is extremely versatile. But again, it doesn't have to be used strictly around cover. You can throw it out and fish it over open water like a swim bait. It just, again, allows me to be very versatile. And that's what I want. If I only have 4 baits, I want baits that I can rig up in many different ways, with a very minimal terminal tackle. So, you're a few EWG Fusion 19 hooks, a few wacky rig hooks, and, some various sized tungsten bullet weights. And I'm pretty much got everything I need to fish with these 4 baits. But a swim jig to me is just a bait that I love to have. It seems like it gets bit pretty much everywhere you go. And I can, again, slow down with it, use it like a jig, and work it in a lot of different ways. So these 4 baits are probably the 4 baits right now that if you told me I could only have 4 baits, didn't tell me where I was going and said, put them in a Ziploc bag, we're going fishing tomorrow, you get 4 baits. Those are the 4 baits I would probably pluck off the wall, because I know no matter what I'm doing, I can make those baits work in almost all situations. They're extremely versatile and they catch a ton of fish. So regardless of species, regardless of where I'm going, I would think I could catch fish with those 4 baits. So let me know in the comment section, what are the 4 baits that you would have to have with you if you could only have 4? I'd be curious. I'm sure the viewer that asked this question would be curious, and I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say. This was kind of a fun one. Thanks for sharing. If you've got other challenges like this that you want me to do, I'd love to hear what the challenges are. Maybe they'll turn into a video at some point. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, guys. Another video coming out tomorrow.